Hi, this is Megan Jax, and I have what's hopefully going to be a fairly quick video on how to use the We Are Memory Keepers Fuse tool with your Creative Memories Peekaboo Pockets. So this is a great option if you have a photo that is smaller than one of our standard size of Peekaboo Pockets and you don't have any of the variety sizes. So I have a photo that I'm going to be using in the virtual crop today that is started off as a 4x6. I wanted to make it a 4x5, but I needed to peekaboo pocket this. I have some other photos that I wanted to include under this and then some journaling. So I needed to make this I needed to turn a peekaboo pocket into a 4x5 peekaboo pocket. Now, I would have loved to have shown you how to do this with a 4x6, which would be, imagine it just an inch wider. However, I didn't have any 4x6 peekaboo pockets because apparently I keep forgetting to order them. What I do have, though, is I have a 5x7 peekaboo pocket, which actually works fine because it's 5 wide and I can just basically, I'll be trimming off the bottom edge of this. So it's maybe not the most efficient use, but it works for what I needed it to do. And it was a great way for me to practice and learn how to use the fuse tool with my with the Peekaboo Pocket. So we'll go ahead and I'll get started. Everything I'm going to show you that I'm doing with a 5x7, you'll be able to do with a 4x6. You will just need to figure out how the ratio of sizes, whether you need to make it a 4x4, you need to make it a 2x3, or excuse me, a 3x4, various sizes. When you use the fuse tool, it's all about shrinking down the original size. We'll use our trimmer then to cut off excess. So I've got my fuse tool. There's two types of tips that come with it. There is what they call the I call it the fusing tool. It might be called something else. I threw away my directions already. That was pretty crazy of me. And then they have the cutting tip. So the fusing tool, or just when you're trying to just basically seal it, is going to be this rounded kind of wheel tip. And then if you want to do cutting with it, like you want to slice open the pocket or so forth, you would use this brass tip here. I am not using this tip, but you want to make sure you hold on to it. You can find additional styles of tips for the fuse tool. Amazon did not seem to have them in stock when I just recently checked, but I think there maybe are some online options to purchase those. So you just look up fuse tool tips. And you will see some options come up in Google Shopping to connect those, get you hooked up with those if that's what you want. So one thing I will recommend is you're going to need to practice. So figure that your first time doing this might be a trial and error. So one thing I learned is, like I said, I want to turn this into a 4x5 peekaboo pocket. I have a 5x7, so it's 5 wide by 7 tall. I need to turn it into a 5 wide by 4 tall. So basically taking off the bottom 3 inches. I'm going to move my fuse tool over here. Big thing I can tell you with this, you need to let this heat up for about 10 minutes. That's in the directions. You want it to get nice and hot. So it is now warm. I definitely do not want to touch that tip. I'm just using a piece of cardboard. I was able to, when I first did this, I was able to do it on I have a granite kitchen counters. I was able to do it on that, but the cardboard works fine. I have not tried it on my cutting mat. I wasn't quite prepared to have any disasters with my cutting mat. The cardboard's going to work fine for me, for my purpose. The other thing that I would recommend doing is cutting a piece of cardstock. This is actually just like the front cover of one of those when you order prints and they give you that print that just tells you what's in your order. I trimmed this down to a 4x5, and I'm going to slide this into my peekaboo pocket. And that's just going to give me my guidelines of where I want to go. So I'm going to slide it in. I'm going to keep it in nice and straight. I'm going to fold over my flap and check my top ledge. I look good. It looks nice and even across the top, meaning I've got this placed in here about where I want it. Now, if this is your first time, what I would recommend doing is practicing along your outside edge here. These edges right here are a great spot just to kind of practice what you want to do. They give you a straight edge. It is a metal straight edge. It has a groove here in the middle that they recommend you use. I actually was just using this side edge here. I was comfortable doing that, but you may want to play with whether you want to use this middle edge or you want to use the straight edge along this side. And then what you're going to do is, if you're practicing, is come along and just line up your straight edge. The back side of this does have some silicone dots on it that help keep things in place, notably your peekaboo pocket. So your pocket isn't going to slide around once you get going here. If you keep everything nice and steady here, this peekaboo pocket's not going to slide around. So I have a it has been warming up for several minutes, edge here. And the one thing I wanted to point out, the struggle I had, I'm still learning how to use this, is this rotary piece here. Every once in a while just wants to slide. It doesn't necessarily want to spin. So that's where you need to practice. Some of it, I think, is the angle of your movements. If you push it from a low angle, you may actually slide versus spinning. If you come up from a higher angle, it may do a little bit better. So practice that. So you can see here along my cardboard is rolling nicely. Now I'm going to try this, and I'm going to go along, putting even pressure along the whole way and going, not super fast, but not super slow either. Remember, I'm basically melting this top layer down into the bottom layer. So I'm going to come along here and even pressure all the way across. Now, I can see that I didn't have there's a little bit of inconsistencies in here. For the most part, that's probably not a big deal if I'm just doing a peekaboo pocket. It's not going to fall out. It's going to keep it in there. But this is why we practice. Like I said, I'm still learning. I am in no way, shape, or form an expert at this tool yet. So I would recommend just practicing until you feel like you are getting good, consistent results with your piece. I'm applying a little bit more pressure and coming across. And that's a little bit better. I can see more consistency here. So I'm going to try it one more time, going a little bit slower. Like I said, I still haven't made my final cut. I am still practicing. So it's going to take you a few. I am definitely applying pressure, going smooth all the way across, and there. That was a good run. I can see an even set of fusing all the way across. All right. Now I'm going to come up here and I'm going to line up my tool with the outside edge. So here's you could do it a couple of different ways. You can come from this opposite side and line things up. If you need to, you could draw a straight line on your mat. You could do it from the other direction. I think I'll try this. Remember, this is a sacrificial piece in here, so I'm not worried about that getting hot. I'm going to try it from this side. All right. So I've got about 1/8 of an inch gap in here. And I'll put my fuse tool in there. You want to get it, if you have your space holder in here, you want to get it kind of close to that edge. This is not my photo. This is just a sacrificial piece here. I'm actually going to go a little bit closer. Not much. 1/8 of an inch should be pretty good. And I'm going to run that fuse tool, remembering the pressure and the speed I went last time. So I'm starting off the edge, coming on. There we go. I had a little bit of a rough start there. I'm going to tell you the reason why. I was too angled down as this way. I needed to be angled up. But we'll pretend that that's all wonderful on camera. So now it's time to go ahead and trim. And I'm just going to use my trimmer for this. I'm going to line this up with my trimmer, cutting fairly close, but not on that cut line. And there. I now have a 4x5 peekaboo pocket. I have all this. I would hold on to these extra pieces, put them with your fuse tool. After you let it cool down and you put it away, put these extra pieces with your fuse tool because these will be great for you to, when you're warming things up and you want to just go ahead and keep practicing or make sure your tool is hot enough to do what you want it to do, to go ahead and keep those so that you don't have to, you know, if you're using a 4x6, if I had a 6-inch wide and I was only taking an inch off, I don't have a lot of room to practice those warm up things. But if you have extra pieces, especially if you're like me and you had to work with a 5x7 that you're trimming down, or maybe you took a 4x6 down to a 4x4, you'll have extra pieces. Hold on to these. These are what you can practice with and make sure when you're getting ready for your next project that your tool is warmed up and ready to go. All right, so 4x5 Peekaboo Pocket. This one's made from a 5x7. You can make them from a 5x6. I'm looking forward to taking the 6x12s, taking it down to a 6 or 8 across by 6 tall with a couple of 4x6s in there. So really looking forward to using this tool. This is the Fuse tool from We Are Memory Keepers. You can get it on Amazon. There'll be a link in the description below for you to go ahead and get that tool. All right, thanks for watching.